Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we'll have roll call, Miss Jody.
Osborne,
Here.
Euler,
Here.
Bentley,
Here.
Jones,
Here.
Kushner.
Here. Approval of city council minutes from 2/12/24.
Move to approve.
Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. Adoption of the agenda.
Move to adopt agenda as presented.
Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. All right, number 5.1, we have a presentation of monetary donation by Wills, Warrensburg Independent Living for Cave Hollow restroom renovation project presented by Bob Crum and whoever else.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We have Dave from
I told you you're gonna have to talk, Dave.
Wills is a nonprofit organization that helps people with disabilities. And for quite a long time, we've been working with trying to get new restrooms at Cape Hollow Park. One that are more helpful for inclusive nature with a larger platform for an adult sized child to be changed. New fixtures, a rearrangement of that. And working with Enrique, particularly with Dave and the folks that went in, remodeled all that, made it much better. Provided new fixtures, new arrangement, the whole thing. Dave did, and the crew did a lot of the work. And we're presenting you with a $5,000 check, not you. But the city for to help pay for the new fixtures and all the work you guys did, and we really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
I had one job to do. You want to get second.
oh, all right.
There you go.
If I come back with social media people.
Yeah.
That means.
Well, that sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Thank you.
That's our executive director, Deb Hobbs.
Okay, number 5.2, we have a award of merit presentation to Paula West. Oh. I get along. Why not this way, Paula?
I saw you bend your knee.
Huh?
I saw you bend your knee. That's
Oh,
Finally got
good.
Okay, the Western Association of Court Administrators was petitioned by a Patrick McIntyre in regards to Ms. West and her work with the city court and her continued work through courts and city clerks throughout her career. And what he wrote was, Paula worked at Dobnosky Municipal Court for many years. She left and went to work at the Warrensburg Municipal Courts. Even after I was hired and she trained me for a couple of months, she has continued to assist me and answer any questions I may have. Paula is friendly, always friendly and willing to assist anyone that needs it. She is also very active in Western Association of Court Administrators and handles everything, even if she is busy. So with that, you get that, and a plaque that has been presented or provided by the court in recognition of your leadership, dedication to the advancement and professionalism of court administration. The Western Association of Court Administrators is proud to present this award of merit for 2023 to Paula West. And yeah, both those two here
you.
and oops. Got lots of stuff. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your work.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, next is 5.3. A presentation for update for Missouri American Water on Warrensburg projects by Mr. Gwynn, Operations Manager, and the rest of the herd.
Yeah, I have with me, my name's David Gwynn, I'm the operations manager with American Water in Warrensburg. This is Matt Barnhart, he's our director of operations. Grant Allenball, he is part of our engineering group. We're here this evening to bring you up to speed on a project we're getting ready to do at the treatment facility, where we will be replacing our ozone treatment. This equipment is used for taking the sulfides out of the water, which sulfides are what creates sulfur water. So with sulfur water comes taste and odor, those kinds of things. So this equipment is 25 years old. We're having a hard time finding replacement parts for it at this time. People to come in and service the equipment is becoming harder to find, and just the efficiency of the equipment it's run its course. So installed back in 91. So we have a plan put together to where we're going to try and take the old system and kind of piece it to where the new system is going to come online as the old one's going on. So kind of switch that out one for one, so that it should be seamlessly undetectable. Nobody will ever really know that it's done. In the event that that doesn't go as planned, there could be a little bit of taste and odor in the water. We don't expect that to last for very long, but if it does happen, the water will remain safe to drink. But we are sending out mailers to the public so that everybody is on the know on what's going on, the contact information, how to get a hold of us, what to expect, kind of thing. So we are spending the investment on this project around $3 million. So it's something that's very good for the community and something that's very well needed. So that's pretty much it for the questions or
Yes, define very long. Or what's not very long.
as far as if we have.
Yes.
So maybe a week, or we might, and that's kind of, that's really if things really don't go right. So this is the plan we put together, we've been working on for several months. So we believe that we've got this exactly where we need it to be, but just in the odd event that it did happen, a week is about what we're expecting.
Okay.
If something happens.
Okay, thank
To
you.
bring in the system. Sure.
And you expect the smell and the taste of the water to improve?
To improve from what it is now,
Yes.
I don't know that,
Oh,
I
you
don't know.
You
If
don't smell it or taste it?
you won't deal with any sulfur. I know that,
That's good.
but yeah, so, well, which the sulfides in the wells currently, you know, it's all natural occurring. So it's something that we treated for many years. They've done quite a bit over the years to try and battle this, but so far, the ozone does a very good job of taking that out.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, first and second reading of ordinances. Number 6.1, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 3 fire department emergency response vehicles. Mr. Jennings.
Good evening, council. This ordinance is addressing a budget item that was included in this year's budget. 4 vehicles were purchased in 2008 for emergency response duty vehicles. One of them was actually kind of shared with the collector for several years. Our administrative chief and the collector shared the vehicle, but those vehicles have reached their end of life for what we used them for. We were able to replace one of those last year. The remaining 3 were included in this year's budget. Those were ordered towards the end of the last year, and we anticipate delivery in the next week or so. As reliable as we can get on the delivery of vehicles in today's market. But The vehicles were purchased through a state awarded contract, so there was no bidding through it. It was a contract that was awarded to Joe Mockins Ford. When that order bank opened up, we placed the order for the vehicles. Hopefully, like I said, should be getting shortly. The amount for the vehicles is $142,557. So since it's over that 100,000, that's why we're presenting back to you this evening. 204,000 was budgeted for the entire project. So after they get here, they'll be outfitted with lighting equipment, sirens, marking, trays, equipment to make them ready for service. Happy to answer any questions if you have.
Nope, sounds like a plan. We need a motion, please.
Motion to move to second reading by title, please.
Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Jones, yes, Kushner.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the purchase of 3 fire department emergency response vehicles. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a contract amendment with Burns and McDonald Company Incorporated for the Rethink McGuire project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So before you tonight is a formal amendment to the existing agreement that we have with Burns and McDonald. So if we recall from what was baked into the original proposal, it was extensive amount of public engagement. They also had to model and then analyze the data, and then also help us with a strategic funding plan for pursuing raised grants and other grant opportunities to help afford the project. And so we could categorize that more as like the soft side of this project. And so with this amendment here, we're going to be transitioning into more of the hard part of the project. And so you can think about pre-construction services. So that would entail design and value engineering. A lot of those topics that we have mentioned before. They'll have construction and contract administrative services to help us just keep the project on task, on budget, and on schedule. So that's this ordinance in a nutshell. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. I'd also like to say that Brenda Mackey, the project manager with Burns and McDonald, is also here tonight as well.
Do you know when we'll, from our road trip that we've made and some of the changes that are improvements that we saw, when we might see some renderings of how we can incorporate those? Is that considered soft side?
Good evening. Yeah, I anticipate we'll be starting property owner meetings again within the next month. We do anticipate another more workshop style setting, probably in the May timeframe, where we would see more renderings and then another map of how the improvements will be delivered on the boardwalk.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that.
So Enrica, this was anticipated to do this.
Yes, it was planned that way.
Yeah.
There was just, the scope needed to be phased.
Right.
And so that was part of why it was done this way.
And this includes working with our contract manager at risk.
Yes.
Motion to move to second reading by title. Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to execute a contract amendment with Burns and McDonald Co. Inc. for the Rethink McGuire project. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next up, we have 6.3. An ordinance, this is a long one. An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to sign a contract agreement with Capital Paving and Construction LLC for the McGuire Street project utilizing CMAR procurement method and selection criteria for the McGuire Street project in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to start this off with really saying that this is a significant milestone for the community. It is tremendous that, you know, we've heard the city manager say that, I mean, this project has really been 20 years in the making. And so now that we finally have a contractor on board to help us deliver this project is truly something to capture. And so it's not a milestone in the traditional sense of going from design to construction, but to really look at the project as a whole, that we can really point to this and say, here's where we're going to make improvements. And so this time next year, McGuire is going to look a lot different. And so anyway, I'm very excited about that. My voice probably doesn't show that, but I'm definitely very excited about this project. So within this process, I think it would only be fair to the committee members that reviewed and analyzed and dissected RFQs and RFPs and went through a very rigorous, fair vetting process to select a contractor. We looked at a lot of things, particularly, and probably the most important, are they going to be a partner with us? And that was a key word that was really driving us forward. That we need to have someone that's willing to work with Burns McDonnell, willing to work with us, willing to work with other stakeholders, like the business establishments that are on McGuire specific, to then the broader community of how are we going to handle traffic as constructed for business. And so we needed a contractor that could see the big picture. And so with capital paving and construction, we definitely believe that they understood all of our goals thoroughly, the goals that were outlined, and that we really looked at through the lens of, can this contractor deliver? And so we certainly believe that. And within the staff memo, the letter, I kind of hit on the specifics of what's in the contract, but specifically, this is where we get into the creation of the schedule, the budget, the risk register, really coordinating with utilities. So really addressing and ramping up. Part of what the CMAR process we're able to leverage is their expertise in the constructability review. And so that's going to be critical for us for this project, that we can get their expertise in the room and review the design before it's finalized. And so that will help us save money and really get everyone on the same page. And so by saving money, really what I'm saying is to be able to reinvest those dollars into other elements and aspects of the project. With that, I will stand for any questions that you may have, but I would also like to say that Ryan and Travis with Capital Paving and Construction are also here. So to be able to represent the firm for this. So,
Do you gentlemen have any comments? Anything you'd like to?
We're just excited about the opportunity, and we just appreciate the forward thinking of the city and the council on this type of delivery method. I mean, it's unique for this industry. I think you'll see a lot of benefits from the teamwork and the partnership that we can have with the design firm. Like Enrico said, the constructability reviews, having those before design's complete, you know, in the design build world is just really key to maximizing the budget. So that'll be our intent. And Travis, he's got 30+ years of senior management with MoDOT that he brings with a lot of contacts and knowledge of this process. So we're really excited. I'm sure we should.
Sounds like a plan. Need a motion?
Move to approve a second reading by title.
Osborne,
Yes.
Bueller,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to sign a contract agreement with Capital Paving and Construction LLC for the McGuire Street project utilizing CMAR procurement method and selection criteria for the McGuire Street project in the city of Warrensburg, Missouri. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Bueller,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have 6.4, an ordinance authorizing Johnson County Economic Development Corporation grant reimbursement agreement. Let's do it.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I'm very excited to be able to bring this ordinance before you. We have talked a lot about this ordinance and we're finally ready to put our stamp of approval on it. So this is when Johnson County Economic Development Corporation was awarded a $5 million grant from the state of Missouri to work and extend Veterans Road in our industrial park. So Brady Commerce Industrial Park. So we are very excited. However, that $5 million grant, we do have to pay for those monies. We have to pay for those improvements up front. And Johnson County Economic Development Corporation does not have that kind of fund balance. And so they're not that kind of organization. And so we're very excited to be able to help provide a little bit of the cash flow for them as you all set up that revolving grant opportunity. So just as a reminder, we are going to award front $250,000 a month, up to $1 million, but also understanding that as these improvements are made, that JCEDC will be submitting for reimbursement to the Department of Economic Development, and we should be able to kind of see that revolving grant. So this potentially could draw down our fund balance by $1 million. However, that will not impact our financial stability of the city. We understand that the timeline of this project, and Tracy's going to talk a little bit more about this, but the timeline of this project, the quick turnaround date, so we have to have this project completed by June. So we have built in some safe in our agreement with Superior Bowen. We have built in some good stop points so that if we were to have a difficulty having this project delivered, that we would be able to stop progress on the project so that we would not be paying out dollars and not being able to get reimbursement from the state. So we feel very confident in the agreement that we have with Superior Bowen, that JCEDC has with Superior Bowen, and that we will not be getting out over our skis too much on this particular project. Also understanding that because we are going to try to expend $5 million in less than 5 months, and we are only able to front about $250,000 of that per month, JCEDC has worked very closely with two local banks that we have here in town. FNC Bank as well as Central Bank of Missouri will be helping finance the remainder of the project. So we are very excited about the partnership with Johnson County Economic Development, partnership with the state of Missouri, and also with those two banks in our community and their partnership and understanding how important this getting Brady Commerce Park up and going and completing that infrastructure in our community is to the continued success and economic vitality of Warrensburg. So Tracy does have a few comments that she would like to share with you about the project. She has an update, so I will turn it over to her.
Thank you, Daniel. I promise I'll be quick. I know it's a new thing, right? I want to say thank you, first and foremost. Weldon, Brady, and I remember so vividly back in 2008, Weldon and I sat down and started to think about Brady Commerce Park, and you talk about 20 years in the making, you know, it's been a long time for this project as well. And so Brady Commerce Park was set up as Warrensburg's business park. It's industrial park as businesses were expanding out of the existing industrial park that we have in industrial center here in Warrensburg. We really didn't have a place for them to go. So we were forcing them to look elsewhere, honestly. And so Weldon purchased a section and through his own resources and set that aside for the community to develop, and here we are. I don't know how many years later. It seems like it's been just a short time, but also a really long time. But if it hadn't been for Weldon initiating that, and then Vicki Terry McDonald continuing in that legacy, we wouldn't be here today. And so thankfully, I want to say thank you not only to the city for taking this under consideration, but also to the staff. We wouldn't be here without that teamwork. Enrico, Joe, Danielle, Doug, everybody on the team, rowing in the same direction. We would not be here if it hadn't been for certainly their help and support. I'm just a paperwork person, and the rest of the decisions, the really good decisions get made and with the right people. So thank you for all of your work. I so appreciate it. So, yes, it does open up 165 acres for development. That will end what we have available in the Brady Common Park area. But this road is a little different than the one that you have in your packet. I just want to make sure that the one that you have in your packet is the one that we submitted for the application back in April 2023. And we've learned a lot since then. It's been redesigned, so it doesn't look like what you see in your packet that came with the Department of Economic Development original contract. We shortened it. We had to identify line of sight as we came up north and connected to Northeast 200 Road. We had to make sure that that line of sight was appropriate, that we weren't a floodplain. Had lots of environmental, appropriately so, environmental considerations to make. And so it looks a little different than what you have in your plan. The budget is a lot different than what you have. But all very good. And JCDC signed a contract with Superior Bowen last Thursday in the amount of $4,970,000. And so we are ready to roll. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have.
When can you start?
They're started.
They started?
They're started, yeah.
Already have.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah, it is.
Tracy said the property, just so I'm clear, is that city property there to the east or?
No,
It
it's.
isn't, so.
It's not. It's still privately owned by Vicky Terry
Okay.
McDonald, who's still the single member of the Brady Commerce Park LLC, which owns the ground. And Barb can speak to.
They have submitted the applications to have it annexed into the city, the entire parcel, not just the right of way. So the whole parcel, which is 163, several hundred acres. So that will be coming forward to council at your next meeting.
Okay.
That is a 2-meeting process for state statute. And then they've made a request to have it zoned as well. And so those requests will be coming forward in April to planning and zoning commission and the city council at your first meeting in April.
Okay, thanks.
So you'll start to see those maps and those notices start to go out for the next few months.
Thank you again.
Yep.
Happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank
You
you.
know where to reach me.
Thank you, Tracy.
Okay, we need a motion, please. Or do you have anything else?
Second.
I was just gonna say, I'm happy to stand for any questions on the grant, process and application if there are any.
Question.
Okay, now go.
Motion to move to second reading by title only.
Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes,
An ordinance authorizing Johnson County Economic Development Corporation grant reimbursement agreement. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is other business, 7.1, a resolution supporting the Johnson County, Missouri Community Organization Active in Disaster Program.
Good evening again. Imagine doing my emergency management hat for this topic. Emergency management is kind of the business of preparing for the larger scale disaster. Part of that process in building a more resilient community is empowering government boards and the community itself to prepare for disaster. Last year, Division Chief Vanway, working with the director of the Johnson County Emergency Management at the time, kind of put their heads together to start working on the process of establishing this Johnson County Community Organizations Active in Disaster Group. What that did was brought together agency or organizations throughout the county to kind of come to the table and present different resources that they may have to help a community get through that initial phase of an emergency or disaster, and then as we head into that recovery component. So as we know, if something happened, major flood, tornado, something like that, a lot of the government resources, fire departments, police departments, all that can only do so much. So what this does is put those groups together to kind of drive that mechanism to identify those resources and then put themselves into play, working in the command process. So that group has met several times. They put together an MOU kind of directing that organization, and they have appointed their initial committee chair positions. So they're up and going. It's an exciting thing to see. And while staff from the different EMs in the county will provide a lot of expertise and guidance, a lot of the burden has been put on them to keep it going. The resolution tonight is just to continue to support that as it grows and provides that support. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Where's the management sit for this? Where will that be, or
As far as
managing this organization, I guess, who's
that, the committee itself of those groups that are involved, and there's several churches and other organizations that are in it, they'll be the driving force behind it. Our role will be kind of that expert advice, kind of that staff liaison position that we experience with a lot of our boards, just in kind of different capacity.
So if a disaster happens, this outlines how you'll have a command center, who will be in charge of the command center, how that'll trickle down through all the different agencies that are involved in the memorandum of agreement.
Not exactly.
Not exactly.
The COAD itself is just a piece and all of resources. So as we respond, and we have that instant command system that's going to be part of all of the emergency response agencies and a lot of other organizations. It's a group that will be able to tap in and bring to the table and say, hey, we have a lot of storm damage. We need a lot of people with chainsaws. And then they take that back to their group of their list that they have, and they get a hold of all those people that can provide that resource. So it's still managed from an emergency standpoint through an EOC, but it's a resource, kind of a separate arm of that operation, if that makes sense. So this MOU doesn't define how we handle it. It's just how that group is going to be organized and meet and communicate those resources amongst themselves.
And it's identifying what resources are out there to tap into. Is that that part of it?
Yeah, that's a huge part of what they'll be doing is hey, my church can provide bedding or shelter, or my group can do chainsaws and cook. So that's something that they'll, as this group gets up and going, they'll have those resources already kind of laid out, so that from the EOC, we can call and say, hey, we need this, and they can go, okay, yeah, we've got those contacts, we'll get a hold of them and get them contacts.
So the like the command center part is, what is that called? That's the part I'm used to hearing
Yeah,
about.
an
So
emergency
what is that?
operations center, an EOC.
Yes.
So, yeah, so that's established early in the incident and handles the emergency piece of it. The whole time frame of a disaster is much longer than an initial emergency response. So that's another good piece of this group, will be that the time when the emergency starts to getting resources going, and then getting everything kind of set up for that recovery mode. So, we may be able to offer temporary short-term sheltering, but what does that look like more long-term as homes are rebuilt or people are moved, that kind of thing. How do we get government back up and running? How do we get the day-to-day lives back going, folks? And this group will play a role.
Okay, thank you.
Is Whiteman Air Force Base a part of this, or?
Not directly. I'm sure some of their resources will come into play down the road. This is focused on primarily non-governmental organizations. From the emergency response standpoint, between our EM and the Johnson County EM, there are connections there made with Whiteman Air Force's bases EM. Given their hazard, they are pretty siloed in what their response is, because typically if we're going to be dealing with something there, they have a whole different element that they're dealing with. So in disaster response, that picture looks a little bit different than typical or normal mutual aid like fire trucks are able to
pretty a mess.
Thanks.
One of the things I wonder about has to do with data recovery. So for the city, you have a lot of software, different softwares, and I assume they all pretty much funnel through a server of some sort, and then they're backed up every day or every time you make a change. And that can be recovered by making a phone call and somebody can show up within 24 hours with your backup if your building is now flat. Yeah,
And I'll also say too that a lot of our data also is in the cloud as well. So,
the cloud.
yeah.
Yes, I'm familiar with the cloud. Which one?
it's not online.
Nine.
Councilmember Jones, maybe a good opportunity for us to talk a little bit about, more about our emergency program would be to do a work session. I think emergency preparedness probably has a month coming up on awareness, so maybe we can do a special work session about emergency management and how we approach that.
That might be nice to see an organizational chart and how it fits together.
I think it's in May, because it's always kind of around tornado season. So we will do a special work session on that and talk with council through how we set up our emergency management program.
Thank you.
Just real quick, is this just for natural disasters or are we also including like cyber attacks and, I mean, that's part of your plan?
Yeah, their response wouldn't be necessarily limited to natural, it'd be natural and man-made. Yeah. Depending on the type of resources, obviously, can dictate what they're able to do for a specific type of incident, but it's kind of wide open on if they have resources we can get for. We'd love to use them.
It could be the New Madrid fault. I saw something that kind of puts us right at almost in the bullseye.
Yeah, we're in the not a horrible zone, but not a great zone.
Right.
And I'll also add as part of the emergency response that Phil and we have contingencies in place in the event that, say, if we lost one of our wastewater treatment facilities. So how we would respond to that, or if a lift station went out, what would our response be? So we have contingencies in place for our own facilities as well. So that is something that Phil and I brainstorm quite often.
I didn't even think about the sewer plant.
Comprehensive. We'll do a comprehensive talk about emergency and preparedness.
Yes, yeah. I don't have any more questions.
You're talking about losing a sewer plant and Phil's back there about to die.
Yeah, that day, I was like,
So, I would frequently say, hey, Phil, we just lost our east wastewater treatment plant. What's our response? And so it's more just to talk about the discussion, to have a plan in place. And so I do feel pretty comfortable with how we would handle those types of events if they were to occur.
Okay. We need a.
Motion to approve resolution.
One of them.
Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yep.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, number 8, mayoral appointments. I have 2 mayoral appointments to the inclusion or diversity and inclusion commission.
Are they here?
Pardon me?
Are they here?
I don't believe Langston and Burton. Nope.
Okay. I move to approve the appointment of Kennedy Burton and Casey Langston as members to the Diversity Inclusion Commission.
Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Nothing here for not
Nobody?
appearances not listed on the agenda is blank. Miscellaneous matters from the mayor and council.
I wanted to mention that, Councilmember Osborne, Mueller, and I, and Public Works Director and Assistant City Manager Venegas, did I say that right?
Really close.
Really close, I'm getting better. We attended, the Missouri Municipal League, Legislative Conference. Last week, Tuesday, visited with, state representatives. Tried to visit with our state senator on legislation that affects, the cities directly. One in particular that I was surprised is that the state is recommending doing away with sales tax. I assumed because they were wanting to do away with sales tax on food, that it was their sales tax on food. But no. They want to keep their sales tax on food, but they want to do away with everybody else's sales tax on food. So that would mean cities, the animal shelter, the sheriff's department has a sales tax to pay, deputies and maintenance on the jail. Was another big one. I can't think of it. So it surprised me that they would be making, suggesting things like that, that don't affect them whatsoever, but it affects everybody else, but they write it and you think it's the other way around until you really dig into it. We had a very nice meeting with, both, Representative Hawks and Representative, Roger Reedy. He represents, Whiteman, that area of the county. We were not able to see our senator. He was too tired from, his, filibuster and was not in his office, even though we did know he was in there because people were going in there. So we talked to his, legislative, I don't know, who was he? Assistant.
Yeah, the legislative aid.
Yeah, so we visited briefly and then we went on our way. But it was very interesting. We volunteered, each one of us volunteered to serve on a policy committee through Municipal League, a different one. So I think there's 5 different policy committees and we each picked a different one. And it was a good meeting altogether and we learned a lot. At least I did. So thank you for that opportunity.
Anything else? Okay. City staff updates. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with Chief Jennings of the Fire Department 2023 annual report.
You've talked more tonight than you've talked in years.
Gotta get it all in almost. In your packet was the copy of the 2023 annual report. I wanted to highlight, give a little more context detail to some of it. So kind of start with the product stuff. We were up 10% in our call volume last year with 1,554 calls, up from 1,593 the year before. Fire wise, we saw an increase in cooking fires. Cooking fires still are the leading cause of fire in the nation, so that's not a surprising number. The good takeaway from that is the cooking fires that we did have were minor, so things like fire extinguishers getting used, that kind of stuff kept fire smaller. So just through efforts, things like property maintenance code, where some of that stuff is now maybe a little bit more prevalent in rental properties, we saw the damage decrease from that. So it was a good takeaway from that. Natural cover fires were up last year, given the drought. Just overall dry year we had last year. That's not surprising. False alarms were up. That is something that we're digging a little deeper into. It's not something that's surprising. Last year, it's been kind of trending up that way. As alarm systems become more prevalent in businesses, you're bound to have more issues with them. The issue is just making sure that they're maintained and serviced. So we're looking at some alternative options there to keep us a little bit more engaged in the status of those systems. The big thing there on reducing false alarms is one, it's kind of like the crying wolf thing. The more false alarms you have, the more people become just complacent. So when they do sound and there's actual emergency, they're not reacting. The other side is every time we respond to it, it's committing resources to incident that could be prevented through just general maintenance and upkeep of the system. So we're working at some, or looking at some options on how to be a little bit more proactive in reducing, false alarms. And then EMS calls, we're up again, this year. That mostly is attributed to the way that we are dispatched. It's changed over the years, and kind of a long story short. When 911 center receives an emergency medical call, they ask a list of questions, and then that ends up producing a code. We identified in that process some errors in the timeliness that we were getting dispatched after a code was produced and the types of calls that we were going on. Again, we respond to EMS calls, the high priority EMS calls, to provide just additional assistance to the ambulance. We have an outstanding ambulance service, but those high priority calls like cardiac arrest, breathing problems, traumatic injuries, things like that, the more hands, the better. Emergency medical care in the field has definitely changed over the years, where folks are really getting emergency department care in the field before they get to a hospital. So think about the number of nurses and doctors that are in a room in the ER. That's kind of what we're producing in the field to produce better results for our community. So a lot of that's attributed to fixing kind of that dispatch process and getting our resources to calls that they need to be to in a timely fashion. Building fires overall were down, which is a great thing. We had a few fires that produced, kind of jumped up our fire loss numbers. So we use numbers produced by the International Building Code to do cost estimates. So when we respond to a fire, we'll do what the pre-value was for the building and contents, and then we'll take the amount that was damaged or lost at that same figure to produce the estimated loss. So last year, we had an estimated 168 million, a little over that, in potential fire loss. So buildings that were fire subjected to it, with an estimated fire loss only at 563,000, almost 564,000. So while fires were down, that potential fire loss on the monetary value was extremely high, and it was kept very low by the actions that we took. Another improvement over, so in 2022, our average emergency response time was 4 minutes and 51 seconds. That was reduced to 4 minutes and 35 seconds last year. Kind of our internal goal with the resources that we have, we target that 4 minute and 30-second response time. So that is still a goal. There's a lot of factors that go into that. One of them is kind of just the data and how we collect it. So with our new reporting software, we're able to granulate that data a little bit better, get a little picture. Some of it's station location and call density. A big number that we've been monitoring for the past several years is those overlapping calls. So when there's more than one call occurring at one time. So 2 calls takes both of our stations out of that loop. So 202 times that occurred last year. It was 179 times in 2022 and 124 times in 2021. So that number continues to go up. So if we have units out on multiple calls and another call comes in, that's a delayed response for them to either get cleared up and get to it, or for us to recall off-duty staff to staff the station to get to it. So these are all just numbers that we look for in making sure that we have an effective deployment, and then what we may need to address in the future to address the growth in the city. On page 10 of the document, you have a density map. So that's the map of Warrensburg, which is the red, yellow, and green. There hasn't been a significant change. We're not seeing like big pockets grow up where we're running a lot more calls. We have gradually seen growth over the past 5 years, kind of north of Young Street, in particular, north of 50 Highway, that northern corridor has gone up in that section. Obviously, we see a little bit more in kind of the Cahill, that northeast section, with Dollar Tree being there at the intersection, but nothing alarming. We have seen a little bit of growth in some of the neighborhoods that have age. So like the Northfield subdivision, Fox Ridge, Lake Ridge, those subdivisions are getting to be that 30-40-year-old. So just either the occupants or the property itself over there for medical calls, fires, a little bit more activity in that area, but nothing alarming. So just a trend that we monitor to make sure we have resources where we need them. Monday and Wednesdays were tied for the busiest days, call volume wise, and then between 9 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock at night is our busiest time frame, with 4 o'clock in the evening to 5 o'clock in the evening being our busiest hour of the year. So one of the things we've kind of changed up in our model this year, our staffing model, is we kind of redesigned that part-time program. So they're working a 10-hour shift from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day. So that gives us an extra person on one of the trucks as many days as we can staff it throughout the year to address that higher call volume. So far, well, we're a few months into it. It's been received pretty well, and it's kind of nice having that extra person. We're not quite every day of the month yet, but quite a few of them. Next, the people that make all that fun stuff happen. Our full-time staff, we're going just shy of a year of being fully staffed. They're doing great work. Our longevity has increased from last year from 7.5 to 8.3 years. So that's trending in a good direction. I'd like to see that continue to grow. Our rank and file are still primarily that 18 years old to 25-year-old group. They're a lot of fun. And I feel younger every day just being around. An interesting piece I'd like to mention on that, some of the more recent numbers from a lot of the survey data in the fire services, there's approximately 1.4 billion firefighters in the country, and then about 49% of them are over the age of 40. So kind of looking at the future, the next 5 to 10 years, I'd say it's probably a similar reflection of all industry, all workforce. But I mentioned that just to say that this large pool of 18 to 25 is a good thing for us to be, and keep them as they grow, and keep filling in the back, so that tidal wave of staffing problems down the road doesn't hit us nearly as hard. They've been working hard. Last year they had 10,420 hours of training that they logged. That was down from the year before. They had a little over 11,000. Some of that's just we had a few less part-time staff last year that kind of drove that number. And then in 2022, we were like pedal to the metal. We had a lot of ground to make up, so they had a lot of hours in there. So in the last 2 years, over 21,000 hours of training. Last year, we were able to host 6 state-sponsored courses. So the Missouri Fire Safety Education Commission, the money that comes in from fireworks sales plus some padding from the state budget. They have the ability to provide a lot of training to fire departments as long as you apply for it. A lot of time they give money back. So knowing that, we just submitted as much paperwork as we could. We were able to secure 6 of those. They were great classes, not only for our folks, but we were able to bring in a lot of people from fire departments from across the state, which is always good to have an impact beyond our city limits and what we're able to do for the rest of the country. Kind of a neat impact. We brought in one class that we paid for. We brought in a nationally known speaker on some smoke reading. Brought a lot of folks in from that, partnered with the university to present that up there. Had 6 of our firefighters complete their degree programs, so that drove our department where 72% of our full-time staff have a bachelor's degree or higher, which I think is a great reflection to what they bring to the table in our community. Prevention, the huge part of our job, keeping what those other numbers down. That's what we're doing there. So personnel completed over 800 pre-planned site visits last year. While those aren't code compliance inspections, it's foot in the door looking at buildings. And a lot of times we're able to point out things like, hey, your extinguisher's 7,000 years old, you need to replace it. Those types of things. They inspected every hydrant, make sure it was ready to go. Over 200 code compliance inspection from our fire marshal. 260 people received fire extinguisher training. 4,500 children, 2,100 adults, and 515 seniors received fire safety education training. One number that kind of jumped out to us is we have a smoke alarm installation program that has always been pretty active. We had no record of a single install last year. So we think either we did a bad job advertising it, or that we've seen a lot of positive growth from the property maintenance code and the requirements of having some of that stuff in place. So just about a month after we figured that number out, we had somebody request one. So it's still known, it's still out there, but that was something that we'll make sure is known to make sure we're hitting those gaps if we're missing them, but hopefully something that's improved. Emergency management, we renewed our storm ready status. So our storm ready status as a city was renewed. I think it's every 4 years, 3 years, 4 years.
4 years.
4 years. So that process was completed. There's been a lot of changes at the National Weather Service as far as their leadership over there, so it was kind of good timing. We got to connect with a lot of those new faces, and like many places, a lot of those meteorologists are wearing about 12 different hats and jobs right now. So just great relationships to have there. They offer a great resource for a lot of things that we do. Bergfest this year included a lot more detailed incident action plan by a lot of the involved parties to that planning table to kind of iron out some stuff beforehand, just in case something bad happened. Luckily, nothing bad happened. UCM homecoming, we did the same thing, incident action plan for the event. We brought in a lot of some additional security measures, and then we stood up an EOC for that operation. So we had every emergency response agency that was involved in that in this room, special radios and everything set up, coordinated that event. I think that'll just grow from this year. It's a good thing to have for that event itself, but it was also a good calm exercise. It's something that we ever do down the road when things get a little more hairy. We continue to participate in the local emergency planning committee, rural EMA, regional EMA. We did a lot of work on citywide NIMS training. PD really dug in with all their new folks and positions. They tackle a lot of that this year, or this last year. Sitting a little better there. Some other big cool things. We hosted alumni coffees every month last year. So that has been a program that accidentally turned into something that I don't think we can undo now. We have folks that were on the department in the 60s that are coming from Jeff City, in the city. They come back. It's been a great opportunity for our new staff to kind of meet, hear war stories, good and bad. But also as we kind of look at those opportunities to kind of showcase why we're a good employer, kind of having that, you know, there's involvement beyond retirement. It's still part of the thing. This is pretty significant. So a great program there. I have another one tomorrow. A lot of pancakes tomorrow. Have a big group coming. Another big thing we've continued to work on is firefighter health. Cancer, heart, and suicide continue to be kind of the leading triangle of firefighter health problems. A lot of that boils back down to a few things. Limiting exposure to stuff that we can limit exposure to, whether it be toxins, events, things like that. Improvement of overall health, so just VO2 max, just general getting up and moving, and then sleep cycles. So we've already spent many years on different ways to limit exposure to stuff. We continue to support, implement health programs, equipment, things like that. Pretty much every shift makes me feel bad every day that I'm not out there pumping the irons or on the treadmill right there next to them, but they're very active in improving their health. And then our sleep cycle, part of that shift change was to address some of that. So far, great positive feedback on what they've been able to notice in their work cycles. So huge piece protecting those assets. We invest a lot of money in it. We'll make sure they live long and healthy and leave with a smile on their face. So that was 23. Big plans still for 24. I look forward to it. All this made possible by great support of the community. They've always been a huge supporter of the fire department, council, city management team, putting up with what we do.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
You had some big news today.
No, had a lot of major projects bring milestones forward today, and I have one more. We issued the RFP today for your solid waste and recycling services contractor or contractors. We'll see. So that RFP is on the city's website.
Great.
We emailed it to firms that had expressed interest, and a notice will run in the paper on Friday. So we're getting word out that RFP has been issued. Proposals are due back to the city on April 12th at 5 p.m. And then staff, we will proceed to analyze those. There are a lot of options laid out that they will bid on. And so it will take some time to go through all of those and determine what is the right set of services for the city of Warrensburg. And so we hope to bring forward a contract, if we are moving forward with contract, if that's our recommendation, to bring forward a contract. We are bidding, companies can bid separately the commercial services from the residential services. And residential services are 4 units or less on a property. It's conceivable you could bid one and not the other. It's conceivable we could enter into a contract for one and not the other. All options are available. And so there's a lot to look at there. And we would hope to be bringing back a recommendation to you at the earliest in June. So hopefully June or July. There is a timeline laid out in the RFP. You're gonna have 2 documents. If you go on the bid page and look, one is the RFP itself. It's 80 some pages. And then the agreement, the draft agreement, which has some fill in the blanks because we don't know what we're contracting for yet. That's a 60 some page document. So there's 2 documents, both the draft agreement and the RFP itself.
And is the option for with or without recycling?
So there are options that they will address for solid waste collection, recycling. Recycling, we're asking them to provide several different frequencies, pricing on several different frequencies for residential, weekly, every other week, or no, just 2, once a week or every other week. And then it also includes options for yard waste. That one has 3 frequencies, every other week, monthly, or seasonally. So those are just some of the decisions we have to make when we're evaluating the proposals. And then bulky waste collection, doing that by appointment with each property, up to 4 free pickups a year for each property. So you would do that. It wouldn't be a 1 weekend or 2 weekends like it is now. It would be as needed.
And would that volume be like a certain volume, maximum of bulky?
Each of the 4 would be limited to 4 cubic yards. So you would have 16 cubic yards over the course of the year. You could purchase additional pickup if you wanted, but the first 4 would be free.
Okay.
Or, yeah, part of your.
How big is 4 cubic yards? That's just,
That's
that's it.
3 feet by 3 feet? No,
That's 1 yard.
that's 12.
I don't know.
1 by 4. So it could be 2 by 2.
4 by 1 by 1.
Yeah.
4 feet wide.
It's not very sorry.
1 feet.
So as big as that, which then in front of her. Yeah.
Less.
Okay.
1 by 1.
Maybe a little less. And then that would include servicing city properties as well as the sidewalk receptacles in the downtown area. So there is lots and lots of detail. Feel free to check that out. A lot of detail. It will take them some time to put this together.
Thanks for doing that. We're excited about moving forward with it. So
Burns McDonald team has been working with us. Julie Davis in their office has been tremendous to work with in helping line all that out, and Doug worked on it as well. So it's been a lot of effort put into it.
Thank you.
Do any of the other directors have any comments?
Marcy's last one post.
And twisted, I saw it.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, here before you addressing our end of the year numbers from 2023. Our calls for service was up 1%. Our accidents are down 0.6%. Violent crimes up, it's up 49% in regards to assaults, robbery, that type of stuff. For some reason it's ticked up. Our property crimes, burglary, motor vehicle theft, that type of stuff is down 19%. traffic tickets are up 18%. Other tickets are up 5%. We, at the police department last year, we also applied for approximately $40,000 worth of grants, that we received on that side of it. I also want to address so I just came back from, FBI LEDA training. It was supervisor training. We have all of our supervisors going to that and our command staff going to that type of training. I have 2 more. I went to Webb City for it as a week-long training. The great leadership supervisor, the supervisor course is first, and then it goes into command and then into executive training. Right now, all of our command staff have all 3 of those trainings. Our supervisors, we've had them going to at least the supervisor course for leadership. Once I complete, I'm going to the next 2 in Kansas City. I'll be driving back and forth for them, save us a little money. But once I complete that, our department will receive a trilogy award from the FBI for all of our leadership throughout the department. That we've been focusing on, we were focusing on that while I was in Quantico, getting our supervisors to those type of leadership trainings in schools. While I was out there doing the executive leadership as well, they were completing that. Whenever I came back, now I'm trying to catch up with them and show them I'm going through some of the same training. Then the state of Missouri, I believe last year, passed a law that all law enforcement have to complete counseling basically through in their career. So that can be implemented. You can do that either yearly or you can go every 3 years and see someone in regards to counseling. It's good for our officers. That was presented to us. One person came in and said, hey, I would like to offer this to you. And we thought it was going to be kind of on the free side of it. And then at the end of the presentation, they said, well, we'd be charging you this much an hour to do it. We have 3 years. I believe it's going to be 2 more years before we have to implement that each officer goes to the counseling. However, we're going to go ahead and implement it this year. We're looking at, we had Matt Morgan, our chaplain, go to the class at, it was in, I think up in, Maryville. It was a week-long class. He was willing to do it and he's willing to sit down with our officers, and that gives us another option besides this other person that, was offering it to us as well. So we're looking forward to, implementing that just for the, health and well-being of our officers, besides the state requiring us to do it in the next 3 years. So I stand for any questions if you wish.
Tickets.
Good
the
job.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
What?
Tickets, the
Yes.
expired temp tags,
Expired tags, yeah.
right? Are you looking for those? And isn't the Department of Revenue supposed to take over where when you buy your vehicle, you pay the tax, the sales tax at the time that you purchase the vehicle, so you no longer can get a temp tag?
I have no answer for you on that question. However, our officers always will be looking for expired tags. It's a violation. So if they see it, they can stop you for it and issue a summons or more.
No warnings, no warnings.
Depends on how long they're expired. If they're expired for a month, we give them a month of leeway usually. So
I think the Department of Revenue had a 2-year.
Was it 2 years?
2-year window to implement.
It'll be a good thing when they get it, because then the taxes will be paid and there won't be the temp tags to have to even consider.
a lot of people like to forge some temp tags as well, so. On that.
Forge them?
Yeah, make their own type of temp tags, temporary tags.
They're changing date.
I'm with you. I'm all about everybody paying their taxes and getting proper license registration. We all have to follow the rules, correct?
Right. There for a while, there was funny money, $100 bills. There was a problem with some $100 bills.
We still see that quite a bit.
You're still seeing, are you seeing it in any other denominations or mostly just in the $100 bills?
It was mainly hundreds there for a while. We might have came across the last couple of years with a few 20s here and there, but it's mainly hundreds.
Okay.
One other thing we did just do is, the recruit video that we talked about for a year and a half. We finally got that up and going, so, I was pretty proud of our officers for putting that together and working with the university. So I did, present itself and present the Warrensburg PD in the city well. So.
How's your staffing situation now?
That was one other thing I was gonna bring up. Thank you for reminding me of that. Right now, with 5 that just came on, they're about 3-4 weeks from being out of fully trained to go out on their own. So that's great. We're still down to 4, but once we get them onto the road, we'll start looking at backfilling like investigations and stuff. However, I am getting ready to run a process here shortly for a sergeant because Sergeant Carl Stoss has put in his resignation. He's helping us get through the field training portion with these officers. I commend him for that, but he's got another opportunity, so he's just he's done with law enforcement, so nothing we're doing that he's told us. He might tell someone else different, but I don't believe that. He's been very supportive of our command and me. He's just moving on out of law enforcement, and then Denise Sawyer's also retiring in December, so we're looking at trying to fill that as well. So we don't have any applications. We do have one application, I guess, from the part-time academy, but they're 4 or 5 months out from even graduating it. So as of right now, we don't have applications in the process.
So is the bulk of your staff young, similar to the fire department?
Yes, I'd say we might be average of 27 to 28, maybe in the department, if we're lucky, but without putting pencil to paper, I couldn't tell you for sure. So, any other questions?
Sounds good.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Watch it.
I know. I got to see
resistant.
Well, good evening. I don't have a 7,000-year-old sprinkler system. But I do have $250,000. I'm so excited. The WCVB received the ARPA grant reimbursement in our bank account today. So I'm very excited about that. That is the ARPA funds that we were awarded back in April of 23. We applied in December 22. It's been quite a process. But along the way, it wouldn't have been made possible without so much support from city administration and all the team from my random emails for, hey, do you have this document? Can I get this document? Can you sign this? Help me, help me, help me. Always there. What do you need? What can we do to help you? And I can't thank them enough because it wouldn't be possible without it. Along with grants, the WCVB board did approve 2 grants for our couple local nonprofits. The Blaine Whitworth Foundation Golf Tournament received the sports grant, and Main Street received the grant for the beer, wine, spirit stroll. And so we are putting that lodging tax back into our community. The board did approve the Johnson County Cancer Foundation golf tournament back in November. So those 3 have been approved. I approved a sponsorship application today to the Warrensburg High School Alumni Weekend in September. So we're really excited to be able to work with our nonprofits and give back. I met with Jamie DeBacker today, Director of Main Street, to talk about how we can work together for Bergfest. So got a lot going on.
Very good.
Your videos are very good.
Oh, thank you. Another grant. Yeah, thank you.
We are preparing for our state of the city at the end of April, so we've been pulling all of our numbers from 2023. So you'll probably hear a lot of numbers about all the work all the departments did. One of the big numbers that we are hoping to pull together is our grant applications and how many grant dollars we pulled down in 2023. Just to share with our community that we do look for those alternative funding opportunities, and we do try to get them, even though we are not always successful. So along those lines, we are putting the finishing touches on our RAISE 2024 grant. that is due on Wednesday. So we are doing the final edits, getting the final photos, and nothing like coming in at the end of the deadline there. We did receive letters of support for so many of our community partners. Huge thank you to them for continuing to support us and support our project and our applications. We have gotten a letter of support from Governor Carson, as well as Rick Bratton, as well as Dan House. So if you have an opportunity to see them, please tell them thank you for that. Also, we have a request in from Senator Hawley and for Representative Alford. And so we are hoping they have an opportunity to submit their letters directly to the secretary. So even if we do not necessarily have their letters by the end of the due date, we will continue to reach out to them and see if we can give them any additional information to hopefully get their support for those raised grant dollars. We are also got some good news from our health insurance company. So this year, looking at our renewals, our health insurance is not going up this year.
Wow.
So we will be 2 years in a row without an increase. I think this is a credit to our employees. I think it's, our wellness programs that we work through our police and fire departments, our public works department, just trying to stay on top of those things, but also I think it's a good testament that when we did make that difficult change and we did all that analysis to move to the pool, that to be stable for 2 years is great news.
Yeah.
Barb talked about solid waste, bulky item. We are moving forward with our spring bulky item. We did get a successful bidder for that. So the citywide garage sale will be the first weekend in April. The bulky waste will start on April 8th on the east side of McGuire. And then we will move to the west side of McGuire and do bulky waste on April 15th. So these dates were very intentional, hoping that folks will do their garage sales, and then what they do not sell, we will be able to do with bulky waste, and most importantly, be able to have all of those bulky items picked up off the curbs before we have one of our biggest weekends in town when the university celebrates their graduation and we have a lot of visitors. Yeah. Last but certainly not least, emergency preparedness month is in September. So we will plan on doing a work session with our emergency management in September. If there's any particular thing that city council would like us to start preparing work sessions on, we are happy to start taking those requests and starting to put those in the queue. So when we have a heads up, like we can start putting together a work session in September, we really appreciate that kind of heads up, and that really helps us put forward a good quality work session for you all. So
On the bulky waste, what about, I believe I saw the brush dump will be reopened
The brush dump.
out by the soccer fields.
I will defer to our public works department, Enrico or Dave.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, I know in the past we've had mulch chip out there that's available to whoever wants it. Is it still there? Are you gonna be chipping this year?
Dave, would you know?
So we do have some mulch.
Come on, man.
So we do have some mulch at our shop. There is some mulch out there it's been there quite a while. It's probably more like dirt now.
Okay,
But they're at our shop, the stuff that we chip. So it's there.
and what, the brush dump after this go around gets kind of,
So we've got our air curtain out there that we burn.
okay, if Ken lets you.
So if nobody comes to get what you chip, is there any way you could chip it more than once so it's not so big?
Our chipper is not able to do that. So
Oh,
it's always it is, it doesn't get to do what it does. So,
maybe you could budget.
Okay, thank you.
I do not think we have any other business for you all this evening.
I've got just one question, because somebody's asked, are we getting a new dispensary in town in April? Is that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we, yeah, thanks for asking, that we were aware that there was a post made, from, I think it's Jolly Leaf
Jelly.
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 Leaf Hemp Company. We have not received any building permits, from this particular company. We have also not received a business license from this company. As you all know, the state opened up a lottery and folks had to apply for that. The city of Warrensburg was not awarded any additional licenses for inside our city limits. Some brief research that I did and Barb did, they also, Jelly Leaf does not have any licenses anywhere in the state, that company name, correct?
I did not do that.
Oh,
I think it was Blue Springs when I
They have a
looked, but
business. So my quick research, I actually do not believe that Jelly Leaf Company sells THC. They sell variants, like THCA. They also sell, CBD, but not necessarily THC. So they are not dispensing what we would consider to be marijuana.
their
So they're not
announcement
a-
sure looks like it, but.
They're not a Besame.
It's not, from what my quick research, I had to ask the IT department to let me log into their website, because it did get blocked. By our signals, our pirates, you know, they were,
City
this
of-
is not what we want city employees searching at work.
Right.
But the quick research that I was able to do, I do not believe they are like basic.
Okay, because they did, the state did open up, each school district. That's 8 districts received 6 each. So I just assumed it was gonna be another Besame.
No, we did not get another one of those.
Not that we are aware of, there was a round announced, the micro dispensaries
Right.
were announced, very late fall. And like December timeframe, and we were not awarded one in that round. If they've done something since then, I'm not aware of it. There were, I know Holden got one in the last round. We did run the buffer tool on the location and it would qualify as a location for a dispensary, so it could be that or become that if we get a license in the future, but based on what we've been able to find on them, we don't think that it is. But again, at some point they'll apply for a business license and then we'll know more.
Okay.
Okay.
And we had 2 gaming sites or 1 gaming site, the VLTs rated or.
Rated.
Sorry.
Yeah,
We wanna make sure we don't jeopardize any,
Oh, okay.
This is not our investigation, and yes, we were there assisting on one of them. So that's all I'm gonna say in regards to that.
Is what was rated, what, Denny Hoskins is wanting to be part of the video, what do you call it? Where you, gamble online,
You want, I think, off-track betting, I think, and then maybe VLTs.
and then he wants
but-
the video, in the gas stations and that, so is it that kind of equipment? That might have been in that location, that might have been, rated,
This is not our investigation.
and you can have some real fun.
Sorry. We did assist, but it's not our
Yeah,
investigation.
great.
I don't want to jeopardize anything any further.
Thanks.
Okay.
With that being said, anybody else? Okay, we will adjourn.
thank you.
Springfield did, they went and rated one of theirs and then they, and then they filed suit